This is the Curious Mind podcast. My name is Gabriel Ellis, and welcome to the last episode of my therapy sessions with my client Anna. In this last of 6 episodes, she summarizes the insights that she had about the family dynamics, especially the individual needs of her siblings, and now also taking into account the needs of her father and her mother separately. Beyond that, she approaches the question of how to interact with them, and during the conversation, we come to realize that there is a certain risk that she falls into the same role that she had previously, which is the caretaker, the connector, the oldest sibling, which takes responsibility for keeping the family together. And I encourage her to go beyond that more narrow self-definition as a family member, and to contemplate the question to whom she can also open up about her needs and what she needs from them, to show the vulnerability that she has from her position, and to avoid the trap of wanting to be perceived only as the giver and the strong one from the outside. We jump back into the conversation at a point where Anna reflects the possibilities of her giving something back to her family, and specifically to be a listener to her mother, who might be involved too closely with her siblings at home, and the possibility for Anna to be to her mother the one who patiently listens, who understands her concerns, and who can properly take into account her need as an aging woman who wants to be connected with her grandson. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
I think this is actually something that you might be good at because you moved away. To be close, to live in the same household, or to constantly see each other, constantly, I mean, every weekend or something like this, it makes it so difficult to be uh, emotionally independent. It's so easy to
Yeah.
get into a weird mix of resentment and yet not being able to break away. And
Mm-hmm.
certainly, when you live in the same household, it's not easy to listen to a parent.
Yeah.
To defend your position, you have to maintain your individuality. You cannot just give in. Like that's the kid anymore.
Right.
But I
Mm-hmm.
think being more away and not being exposed to the culture, not being exposed to her talking constantly about politics in a way that you disagree with vehemently, maybe not to overhear her conversation with friends and so on, which might aggravate you more. I think you might be able to contribute that as a daughter
Mm-hmm.
and as your part in the family dynamics. This is something that we
Mm-hmm.
talked about last time. What
Yeah.
would you be able to provide from the distance? This could
Right.
be one thing that you could do, give her
Mm-hmm.
actual comfort that your siblings are not able to give.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was thinking too. Like I can be here there for her, like in that way. And at the same time, I'm also thinking about my dad because poor dad has just been kind of like pushed to the side
Mm-hmm.
through all of this, and it's not fair to him either. Because like I'm sure he doesn't like that I always tell mom all the news first. And he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't get first dibs and stuff. So
Yes.
I have to think of that. And he's such a good man, like really good guy. And but he's also very passive. So he wouldn't complain. He wouldn't, he would hold that in.
Again, the lack of skill to express a need, and then
Yeah.
might face a rejection of that need, right? So he obviously is
Yeah.
a very different style than your mom, but like
Yeah.
I said, he wouldn't ask. And yes, it's not
Mm-hmm.
fair that he's left aside just because he's not showing his pain so much, or he got used to it, or he has a very different way of
Yeah.
communicating and so on. So taking that into
Mm-hmm.
account, how would you like to to have your dad close, to bring him in.
Yeah. I want to like because he and I share an interest of music and stuff, so I think that I should just be a little more active, like sending him songs or like check out this dad or something like that. I think he would appreciate that. Sending him a picture of my son or whatever. Just he gets that. From time to time I should be more active, letting him see that because he's just one of those really caring guys. Like,
Mhm.
and he helps my mom so much, even though they bicker, but it's whatever. They've known each other forever,
Yes.
and and he always lets her like kind of take over, and he's very passive
Yeah.
with her, which maybe I learned a lot of my relationship skills by watching mainly through my dad
Mm-hmm.
because I'm also like him. Um, and and so that's probably why I know he probably gets hurt that he's overlooked because
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
I
So
see
it's
that.
it's it's nice to follow up on that. It really is, and
Yeah.
to not to just support a dynamic that the one who screams the loudest or shows the most indignation or the most whatever reject is the one who gets fed basically emotion.
Yeah. Yeah.
To not overlook
It's
the silent one.
definitely not fair. It's like, a child who throws a big tantrum and then everyone gives attention to that child and the
Mhm.
child who's sitting there quietly, gets overlooked and
Yes.
it's not fair.
Yes.
So I have to be mindful of that and stuff. And at the same time thinking about my brother and sister and
Hmm.
I wrote down some notes and was thinking from last session a bit more about my siblings because I hadn't really thought of that about our dynamic as much as my parents. And this past week I've been thinking more about them and stuff and just writing down, like how I think my brother sees me, how I'd like to see him,
Hmm.
things like that.
Can you
And
give us an insight? Because again, also the way that we were discussing, we were focused on. I mean, today it was your mom. Last time
yeah,
it was more your sister and your brother. If he took something from your dad, then he also doesn't know how to express. Maybe he's good in repressing and pushing things
oh,
away.
yeah, he's very much like quiet, like he holds everything in, he's very private.
Yes.
Um, yeah, very much.
So it would be important not to believe that and to see that there is someone behind who is, again, might not be skillful. I hope that he has found a way to express himself with his girlfriend that you mentioned,
Mm,
so that maybe there is a development and improvement there because he has found the one person for him.
mm.
But it even if he opened up with her more, it will be work for him, to be
Oh yeah.
have a really
Well, it's
explicit, open relationship
yeah.
with her. So yes,
Mm.
maybe you can share a little bit of how you
That's what I'm afraid of with him because he's so repressed, and now he's in a relationship with the woman who I don't know her personally, but from what I've heard, it's not. She's quite controlling and quite
Yeah, okay.
dominating.
Mm,
Yeah,
there's a pattern
I
there.
know. It's like you're watching a car crash in slow motion, and there's nothing
Mhm.
you can do to help. I feel like that. Like, and I told my parents like maybe he should just go through it and just feel those mistakes and stuff
Mhm.
because he's never really done that before. Um, but at the same time, I kind of want him to know that I'm there to help because I've been in a really, a big relationship that was not healthy.
Yes.
And I can see the signs and I understand. I can sympathize with him
Yes.
with this.
So you
And
could
he's
be
not
the.
getting sympathy from
Mhm.
others, in the family, but I could. Yeah.
Yes. 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 Okay. There is. Yes. Could you share some thoughts about your sister, just to wrap up? the approach
Yeah.
not?
Well, with my sister, I know that she, yeah, she does miss me, and we we had a nice relationship before, and I think it can be reestablished, and I'd like her to see me as someone who she can come to for support for dealing with all of this
Mm.
family stuff and for being a mom, because we both have children the same age, and it, we could bond over this. It's just that I have to tell her that like she needs to be more present on online, because I can't be the one always like, hey, I'm here. You have to, it takes 5 minutes maybe to send a message
Yes.
once a week would be enough.
Yes.
That would be enough.
Yes.
But I think that she and I just need to have a heart to heart conversation. And I know it could happen. Like we've opened up in ways to each other that our other family members have not. So we have that going for us.
Good. So
Yeah.
one suggestion to that is to establish a ritual.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a good help for avoiding. So if she's in a mode of managing, this is what it sounds like. She has to manage her kids, her work,
Yeah.
parents, emotional needs of other people, and so on. Then
Mm-hmm.
not to introduce another problem. And the problem would be, where can I take those 5 minutes to call, to text, to send a picture?
Mm-hmm.
There's another thing on her list, and if there's one thing that she has enough of, I guess, is to do so.
Yeah, I know.
And a ritual would be a possibility to take the mind up. So every Thursday, 5 p.m., we talk, something
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
A
Yeah.
time when she doesn't have to have another list or tasks on her mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I would strongly suggest to whatever she's capable of organizing, but to not leave it to individual decisions again and again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of okay, those 10 things. When can I squeeze out time for a picture to my sister?
Mm-hmm. So
So
make it more concrete, you're saying, like make it
yes,
more like, okay.
yes. If you could establish a ritual of every second
Mm-hmm.
Friday for 20 minutes we talk, whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something that somehow suits your times, because there's a time difference
Right.
between Europe and the US. Uh, because that would just make it easier for her if
Mm-hmm.
she could commit to that. If not, then you somehow have to have to deal with it. But it would be more probable that if you don't find a ritual, that you would be the one probably initiating.
Yeah.
That would be the unfortunate thing.
Right. And then I get frustrated.
Hmm.
Yeah. I was thinking of starting even a private like Facebook group for just my brother, sister, and I, just us, no one else, and where we could post pictures or make comments, and it's like shared with the three of us.
Yes.
And that might be a nice first step for them, because it's just like there's less pressure. You could post when you're ready, and I'll just
Uh-huh.
share some things with them to show them how to do it. Because
Could you? Mhm.
they're younger than me, and they're not as open to be online and to do things on social media,
Mhm.
and it blows my mind. I'm like, you guys are younger than me. Get on.
Yes. Well, are you sure that they are not doing stuff that you just don't know of with your brother specifically?
Maybe they have a private thing, maybe, but I doubt it,
And not
to be
among each
honest.
other, but just tech
Oh,
savviness. That he has his forums, he has his Facebook friends, he has or whatever they use. I don't know, his WhatsApp
they
friends or
never,
something. No.
no, they never post things. No,
Hmm.
no, they don't. They're not into that stuff. They don't have Instagram accounts. They don't do like, they're very minimally online.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's a possibility. You just have to be aware of, again, your frustration level when you set up a group and you feed some stuff in, and if they don't follow up that much,
Yeah.
it's something to keep in mind. And there's also a skill to it. And
Right.
especially in the beginning, there might be more necessary than just have a group and post pictures. But to ask somehow, you know, interesting questions, for example, to your brother, so
Mm-hmm.
that he is interested to respond.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Something, I don't know, provocative or something funny or something that is not just an obligation of, okay, now family group or siblings group.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. It's gotta, I think I have to make it seem like a neutral thing in the beginning so he can let down his guard a bit.
Hmm.
You know, like I'm not even going to talk about his girlfriend stuff for a while until he and I feel like a little more comfortable around each other.
Hmm.
I think so that he knows that he can trust me to open up. Like I'm not going to just say stuff to mom, you know,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
that's always, I think, the concern, you know, with
Yes.
that.
Uh, and for sure, I mean, if you want to be acknowledged by him in that position, he obviously sees something in her, and to go with
Hmm.
that, it's
Yeah, like yeah.
she's controlling from the outside and looks like a pattern repeating itself and so on, but he sees
Sure.
it differently, right? So if he likes her, then you don't even look
Yeah.
at them, you don't know her, so maybe
Yeah.
better to go with his like of her than
Hmm.
to bring in a rational voice of concern or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. He hears that from my sister and my mom, you
Yes,
know. He's hearing that from them.
yes.
Even my little niece is saying stuff and she's 2 years old. So it's
Right, so he's isolated. He feels isolated with his choice of partner, right? And you
yeah.
know how it feels like. It's not a good position to be in. It's good to have someone who says,
Hmm.
"Look, she's something for you. Tell me something nice about her. Like, what do you
Yeah.
see in her? How
Hmm.
did you come? How did you get together? How did you decide to be a couple?"
Right.
And that would be his point of view, right?
Hmm. That's right.
Okay, now
Yeah.
I'm interested to you described I think a nice range of possibilities of how to connect with them, and I hear through your words that there is something satisfying in this prospect
Yeah.
of connecting with your mom in a certain way, not forgetting your dad and including him in, maybe also
Hmm.
talk about the music and not just sending music, and then to approach your siblings. Now what I see is I would like to voice a question or concern that I have and to get your feedback from that. I see that you know how to navigate being, you would go back to the older sibling position again. Let me take care of people. This is how
Yeah.
I know how to interact with them. So I would be the good listener to my brother. I would be an emotional support for my sister. I would listen to my mom. So you would be that person again, the caretaker. Where are
Yeah.
you as the one in need, the one reaching out and not just communicating, look, I'm here for you. If you need someone to talk to, I'm be the one. But I would like to be the one who is listened to. I have stuff to share that
Hmm.
I don't know how to express towards other people. I would like you, my sister, to be there for me.
Hmm.
So that
Yeah.
part in you, where is that? And I'm being the advocate for that part and not just the convenient route of,
Yeah.
okay, be the big sister again that you know how to do.
Yeah. You know, it's so hard because like I I'm so independent that it's so hard for me to open up to them in that way to say like could you just listen to me, you know, or I'm dealing with something, can you help me with a problem? I mean,
Or let me put it
I've
differently.
never.
If your only need that you have towards your family is to be regarded as the caretaker, then if that is the need that you have, you can go there, and then
Yeah.
you the other needs you would have from your partner, from your son to an extent,
Yeah.
from friends, or
Yeah,
you
because
have
that's the
other
thing.
needs.
Like my friends here have kind of taken over that
Hmm.
just because of the situation. I live closer to them. We hang out more. We talk more, and I
Yes.
feel like I I've built such a nice personal life here, that a nice support group here. I have a good partner and stuff that feel like it's okay. Like if I have a problem, I'm dealing with something with work or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I always have someone to talk to. And at the end of that, I feel better. And
Yes.
so I don't need to like unload that on to my family. There are many things that they don't know about with me, with
Yes.
here and stuff. And I don't know. I just feel like it's probably better for them too, because they've never. I don't think they like to be in a position where they have to take care of me.
And yet, okay, so maybe taking care is too strong of a word. In our previous two conversations, I heard comments where you were deeply hurt that they're not
Yeah,
interested in your life.
I know.
They
I
don't want to
know.
do what I'm doing. They're not interested about the
Yeah,
country that I live in. They don't, they,
yeah.
and that is painful. They're not
That
interested. They don't
is.
care. So that would be, even if you
Yeah.
took care of them, that would be still a part that is left unsatisfied, no?
Then you're right. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Um. Yeah. I guess I've just learned that I can only control my what I can do in life and my behavior. So I'm just thinking so much like what I can give them in the hopes that maybe they'll then be interested in learning more about me personally and learning more about where I live and what I actually do here and stuff. I'm just hoping that like through all of this like I'm giving, then they'll reciprocate.
Okay. And now I will be the advocate for that part who wants to be
Yeah.
interested in. And as that part, I would say this is not enough as a strategy.
Yeah.
It could happen, right? I'm not saying that it isn't. But
Mm-hmm.
where I'm coming from is, uh, so now I'm talking more as the expert of needs. And as a need, we want to have a viable path. And
Mm-hmm.
if I, as a need, don't have that, I'm looking either anxiously into the future for the anxious hope of fulfillment, or I'm frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
And if I
Yeah.
have a path, which is, for example, okay, let me try for a couple of months to do the, taking care uh, role. Let me try that. And if that doesn't work, I will open up more to my sister and say, look, I don't know, I know that I don't show this, but it's so painful for me that I'm here for you, and I don't feel that you
Yeah.
guys are interested, or you personally are not interested in how I am and what I do and what my life is. This for me is painful, and I would hope that you show more interest. So if I have
Mm-hmm.
this kind of a plan, just as an example, right, then I, as a need,
Mm-hmm.
would feel that, okay, there is a plan B. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not just limited to hoping that they read my mind or that they develop a natural interest in
Yeah.
my life, something that they have simply not done in the past.
Right.
So
Right.
what are
Yeah.
some plan Bs that you could provide that part in you that is sad and frustrated for them not showing interest?
I you know, that's true. I shouldn't I shouldn't assume that they will understand the signals I'm sending out, like opening up and like doing all this stuff. And
Hmm.
yeah, my my grandmother used to say about the word assume that it's the way it's spelled. It makes an ass of you and me. So
Hmm.
I should
Right.
consider that.
Yes.
Uh,
Don't forget also that
I
you're sending out other signals. It's the signals that you send out are stronger in that they show I'm self-sufficient, I'm strong, I'm independent, I don't need
yeah
anyone. Don't underestimate how much you send out those signals when you provide
yeah
support, when you are the one who listens, because, well,
that's true.
you didn't say anything, right? You were
Mm-hmm.
there for me, so
That's right.
apparently you have the emotional capacity and the time to do that. So
Yeah
why would I
yeah.
come to think that you might need something, right? So it's a mixed
I
message.
think yeah. I would. I'm hoping that I'll have enough confidence in myself to actually confront them verbally with it, like
Mhm.
conversation.
Yes.
I think, of course, like a letter is a great idea, maybe from mom and dad, because
Hmm.
yeah, they'll need the time. But my brother and sister, we can be a little more like in the moment. and just react off of each other.
Yes.
We've done it before, and I think that it's okay to do it again. Yeah.
Yes.
I just want them to feel comfortable with it. Like I'm not like attacking them, like, you know, pointing fingers.
Exactly.
It's not that.
Exactly. And this
It's
is
not
very
that.
important, right? When
Yeah.
uh, there is a skill in that, and it's good to keep
Mm-hmm.
that in mind and to practice that also just in daily life.
Right.
The ability to express a need without the implication that it's a blame.
Right.
Say, look, this is basically to understand how do we do that by showing them that I understand their position. I know that
Mm-hmm.
I'm the most responsible for this because I have not communicated this in the past,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was me that showed to be strong and to be independent. But over the time, I had to recognize that there is this part of me that doesn't know exactly how to express it. Where I would wish that you, my brother, you're mostly you, my sister, would reach out and show interest in me.
Mm-hmm.
If that is possible for you, I would love that. And if that's not possible for you, then I do understand.
Mm-hmm.
And to,
Exactly.
wrap it up in terms that don't make them defensive about it or obligated.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's it. So I'm, you know, after our sessions and doing some writing and more contemplation than I have before, I feel like more confident to go that route. You
Hmm.
know, like I put it in words, like create this narrative in my head of this situation
Hmm.
so that I can approach them. Whereas before, I don't know. I probably would have been a little more emotional if I talked to them, just
Yes.
a little more like reactionary
Hmm.
instead of like let's contemplate and think first. So now I feel a little more prepared for that, a little more understanding with my mom, like just be a little more sympathetic for her. You know, she's never been in this situation before, so she's trying.
Yes.
So, and that's, you know, nowadays is, I guess, trying is the most important thing, right?
Yes.
That's that means a lot because there's many people who don't even do that. So
Yeah, trying. And what is important is that it's accompanied by skill, and that comes by
yeah,
thinking it through, right? There's an element that I think is, from my side, I think it's important when you reflect on it, coming from a household of implicitness and avoidance,
yeah,
to get rid of that as far as I can, because my tendency is to do the same. Give small
mhm,
hints, hoping that they're picked up, giving an
mhm,
idea, being, uh, indirect about things. This would be the tendency of the family dynamic. And from myself to contemplate in a different way, whether I apply it to communication or not is a different thing. But from myself to know this is what I need, this is who I want to be, and to invest some time into
mhm,
it. And you have in your favor that you have this writing kind of approach, and
mhm.
I would use that more.
Yeah, yeah.
The
I think it's,
association to write things off and to contemplate in this way.
yeah, exactly. Yep, makes sense. And yeah, I'm thankful that I had these few sessions with you to kind of like, you know, put that in order because I've never done that before.
Hmm.
I've never, you know, it's little things come out here and there with conversations with friends or whatever, or you sit by yourself and you think about something, but I've always been so distracted by other things in my life that I never really
Mm.
just focused on it.
Yes.
So,
So why don't you share with us a few impressions of the specific context that we have now, leaving aside that it's recorded and it's not 100% an authentic therapy context,
yeah.
but still. So you didn't know me.
Mm,
You kind of face the challenge of opening up about things that you haven't in the past. You were not exposed to therapeutic contexts at all. So, what can you share with us of what it feels like to be in that position. Is it hard? Is it
Yeah.
easy? What are the things that do actually work for you? Work in the
Hmm.
sense that it makes you think in a different way and eventually act in a different way. I would be curious
I,
about those.
I think that, in the beginning, of course, it's uncomfortable because I've never had such a spotlight on me. And getting used to just talking about yourself for 60 minutes, it's like, it's hard
Mm-hmm.
because especially with my job, I, as a teacher, I'm also asking questions to other people and I'm always focused on others. And I had to like really feel comfortable talking about myself. And I think it's good. Like everyone should have a moment where they feel that, it um, gives you some clarity and puts things in perspective. Makes you feel that someone's actually listening to you. Like you summarize things even like a week later that we talked about, and I'm like, oh, he remembered. It's, I don't know why. Well, obviously it's what you're doing, but I just assume most people just take in little bits and pieces. But when you hear it, that someone can actually summarize the whole thing and even add something else to it, it's really like eye-opening, um, and encouraging. Like, okay, just keep talking because this person's listening,
Mm.
and they're making connections for you, and it's nice to have that. It feels good. Like this time, I feel more relaxed opening up about stuff with my family
Yeah.
than I was the first time.
Hmm.
That's for sure.
Okay.
So yeah, I really appreciate it.
This was the conclusion of our 3 sessions. I hope you found interest in our conversations and that it gave you an insight, an idea of how a therapeutic process with such a topic would look like. I would be glad if you joined us again in future episodes where we'll continue the therapy recording sessions.